Today is a little bittersweet for me. For those of you that follow me on Facebook or are my friend in real life, or you know that I speak ad nauseum about my girl Zoe Moon.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And for a year and a half,
My girl.
we have spoken on the phone every single day. I have the benefit of her brilliance and her insight. She's an astrologer beyond any... this calendar, get this calendar, there's so much good stuff. There's beautiful artwork. There's quotes from famous people like me.
Me too.
I don't know why I'm in there. But then there's stuff about the stars. But Zoe's take on astrology is like no other astrologer I know. She's a very, very spiritual woman and a beautiful person, and she does a lot for a lot of people. And she was supposed to be here today. And we were supposed to meet for the first time. And we've never met. And this is someone I speak to every single day. So it's bittersweet for me to not have, there's nothing sweet about her not being here, but the sweet part I'm going to tell you about now. Because when I found out that Zoe wasn't feeling well on Friday night when we spoke, she had had some sort of stomach thing, and so on Saturday morning, we talked again, and she hadn't slept, and so Sunday morning, I thought, what do I do? And, you know, we could have gone with just 3 readers and Steve, because, you know, we would have time to talk, because I'm such a blowhard and I waste so much time. But I thought, I like to give you a lot. I like to give you a lot for your money. And I like to fill you with a lot of brilliance and a lot of inspiration and a lot of love before you leave. So Jamie Rose was supposed to read for us in April with Christina Hogg, who is going to come here. Now, my door is open. Can somebody close the door? Christina was JFK Jr.'s love before he, and she wrote a book, Come to the Edge, and she's going to come here and read to us in April. And she's friends with Jamie Rose, and I was going to have them together in April, but I put a Facebook out because I didn't have her phone number, and immediately Jamie said yes. And she's got a fabulous book out, which I'm going to let her tell us about the book and why she wrote it, because I could do that, but why should I? Because it's going to be so much more meaningful coming from you. But I am going to tell you a little bit about Jamie. Well, first of all, you need to know that well, you don't need to know, but I'm going to tell you anyway. We share a stylist. We have the same hairstylist, Cindy from Coif in Studio City, which is why our hair looks not dissimilar. And we also share an agent. Although she's done a lot more for Jamie than she has for me, but that's my fault. Lynn Jones Johnson, I love her. And Johnston. Maybe that's why she doesn't do anything. I always say Johnson. Therein lies why my book is still laying and languishing. Yeah, so, but anyway, I love her. And, okay, so let me tell you about Jamie. Okay. That's Kathy. Okay, here we go. Jamie's been a professional actor for 35 years, and you look at her and you say, how the fuck is that even possible? Because I don't know. Perhaps she's best known for her starring role as Vicki. No, from Falcon Crest. Do you remember her from Falcon Crest? Yes. Some of her many other TV credits include, which is not on her bio, but see, everything is synchronous and meant to be. There are no accidents. Jamie did a Columbo movie with Gary, and Gary Kroger was her husband, who her salacious lover Rip Torn murdered. But I mean, how crazy is that they haven't seen each other in 20 years and they come together today? I mean, so that was clearly meant to be. There's more will be revealed. More's revealed. There it is. There's the reason. Oops, there it is. Yeah, and it's because of Zoe. Zoe let them have this reunion. And Zoe will be here if I have to go get her myself in Ohio. Okay, so Jamie has had recurring characters on ER, St. Elsewhere, Chicago Hope, and more recently guest starring roles on House and 2.5 Men, and you'll have to tell us about that. Well, no. A favorite of her film credits include Tightrope with Clint Eastwood. I just did a movie with Frances Fisher. I love saying that. I just did a movie. Because it's all about me. I'm sorry. Chopper Chicks in Zombie Town with Billy Bob Thornton. Now that's very interesting. And Route 32, which will be released in the summer of 2012. That's this summer. She's been in love with the same man for 13 years and married to him for the past 5. And For some reason, that's very funny to her. She lives in Los Angeles with him, their cat Fenway, and approximately 25 pairs of tango shoes. The motivation for Shut Up and Dance and the action at its core is one of many that we're surely to relate to. And I'm going to let the beautiful authoress tell us about it herself. We have so much in common. Tango would not be one of them. Ladies, please welcome the beautiful Jamie Rose.
Will not be on the site?
Probably not.
Good. I've had alpha books in my living room.
When you say has, you say has. Everybody who hasn't.
I have so many stories about so many. What?
Red Sox fan?
Fenway.
I was wondering.
My husband. It was a futile attempt to get him to like the rescue cat. Thank you for inviting me here. I've heard such wonderful things about your group of amazing women, which I can see is all true, and I'm truly honored to be here. I really appreciate it. And Steve was rockingly awesome. I picked up the ukulele recently, and Steve's asked me to go on tour with him. I get some sunglasses at the CVS. Okay. I'm rocking the ukulele, yeah. So, okay. So, yes. Okay, this book is called Shut Up and Dance. The Joy of Letting Go of the Lead on the Dance Floor and off. And I had been living with my boyfriend for 7 years, and we weren't engaged, and he didn't want to get married, and I wanted to get married. And around the same time, I started taking tango lessons. Long story why, but I was kind of thrilled by it for some reason from the very start, which it's all in the book, and it's too long for the time I have here. But what I started noticing, Argentine tango is a very strict lead-follow dance, probably the most strict lead-follow of all the ballroom dances. People who pretty much agree on this. And what I found was the hardest part of it was not the dance part, but the following. And I started talking to other women my age and also younger and also much older. Well, not so much the much older ones, actually. My age and a little bit older, you know, sort of post-feminist women. And they all shared the same problem. We talked about how the hardest part was like letting them lead. And so I was living with my boyfriend, and we had problems. We fought a lot, and which I agreed and knew was his fault. But when I went on the dance floor, and I discovered that the leaders on the dance floor were saying many of the same things that my boyfriend was saying at home. I'm pretty close. Like, you're not listening to me. You're taking over. So I had an idea for a book, and so people often think that this is a book about dance. It's not really about dance. It's fun because you get to hear about dance, and but it's using dance as a metaphor. And what it is what I wrote it as was a relationship self-help book, and I wrote it because I needed a book addressing this problem, and I basically was teaching myself when I wrote it. And I now have to try to follow what I preach. My husband, our new fight. Here's our new. Okay, when we end up getting married, and this also at the heart of the book. It's got parts that are like a classic self-help book, but a large part of the book is memoir, and contained in the book is a love story. And it's kind of apropos for Valentine's Day coming up. And you know, at under $20, what a fine Valentine's Day gift it makes. Our new fight is. Oh, I read your book. I read your book. You need to read your book. Oh, by the way, gift with purchase? Magnet. Okay, I'll give you a magnet anyway. Okay, so I'll give you a taste of the self-helpy part. Are you often frustrated and angry with other people, especially your guy, thinking that it would just be so much better if he or she would just do things the right way, i.e., your way? Do you ever find that the more you argue over a given point with someone, especially your man, the less you can remember what your point actually was? Is it sometimes difficult for you to let down your guard, to feel comfortable being soft, tender, and vulnerable, then you might be a woman who leads too much, and this book is for you. Okay, so I want to stay within my time, so what I'm going to do today is read you, again, sort of the Valentine's Day theme, about two weddings, my two weddings. And usually I'll read a part of the book that tells you about my husband, and if there's time I will, but I doubt there'll be time, but we'll see. You got to know my husband. You know, I could call it frugal, or I could call it he's fucking cheap. It's a very important setup. That's all you really need to know. Okay. But I'm going to talk about my first marriage. Oh, and one of the reasons I love to read this is because I got married at the Hotel Bel Air, and it was really expensive. And the marriage only lasted a year, and so I feel if I keep reading this chapter, I'll get a full value of my time. Still have the dress? Yeah. Okay. At age 26, I had what I like to call a practice marriage. The wedding was a big, fat, fancy affair at the famous Los Angeles landmark, the Hotel Bel Air. The day was replete with sumptuous floral displays, a harpist, celebrity guests, and even a man-made creek on which floated a pair of live swans, which leisurely swam by from time to time, as if on cue, setting the stage for romantic perfection. My fiancé, dashing and handsome in black tie and tails, was a successful screenwriter, and I, dripping in ecru lace and seed pearls, had just finished starring as the lead in a TV series called Lady Blue. We were the perfect Hollywood couple, having the perfect Hollywood wedding. The only problem was, I wasn't in love with the groom. I mean, I really, really liked him, a lot. I appreciated him. He was handsome and smart and funny and successful. Any woman would have been thrilled to marry him. But, well, I just didn't have those little flutters I always thought I would have when marrying the love of my life. During the months of our engagement, I tried to convince myself I was in love with him. I mean, he was perfect, so there must have been something wrong with me. I thought, well, maybe this is what marriage love feels like. No flutters, just deep appreciation. A kind of strong friendship, like back in the days of arranged marriage. Like in India, or in Fiddler on the Roof. I would learn to love him. Yes, I would. Finally, our wedding day came, the happiest, supposedly, day of my life. It was a perfect early summer day. Yes, I was even a June bride. And I stood with my father, waiting for our cue to walk down the aisle. I looked down the line of smiling guests to the spot where my betrothed stood, waiting with the man who would be performing our wedding. A California Supreme Court judge. In retrospect, I realized that perhaps our choice of marriage officiators should have been a bit of a red flag. I mean, the guy was qualified to impose the death penalty. But there I stood, arm in arm with my dad, a huge fake smile plastered on my face, ready to take the walk that now was beginning to feel a bit like the Green Mile of Stephen King fame, when I heard Wagner's Here Comes the Bride. And I froze. I turned to my father and said, "Daddy, am I making a mistake?" And I knew I was. My dad looked confused. Should he run me out of there, or was this just cold feet? But I thought about how everyone was there waiting and smiling, and how we'd already paid a fortune for everything. The flowers, the dress, the harp, the swans. And suddenly, my actors, the show must go on gene were kicked in. I smiled at my worried dad, nodded that I was ready. He looked extremely relieved. And down the aisle I went. Afterward, we had a fabulous reception. A live band, lots of dancing. We had an absolutely gorgeous wedding. But no marriage took place that day. So that's absolutely true. Daddy, am I making a mistake? Oh my God. Okay. So, okay, so again, cheap. Okay. So this is the very end of the book. So this is, and by the way, this is, hold on. This is, I'm actually wore my engagement ring today. The book's about control freak, right? I actually bought the wedding ring and told him where it was being held. The engagement ring, and I said, engagement ring is at that's not the book. It's like, it's at this store, go get it. He's like, I kind of wanted to be like a part of this. Anyway, this is him posing in the parking lot of Bally's North Hollywood, which is the cheapest health club in the city. Okay, anyway, you'll read about that. All right. Rather than the Hotel Bel Air, we chose for our nuptials a rent-by-the-hour chapel in Las Vegas. For romantic atmosphere, instead of swans and harps, we had a plastic arch decorated with plastic flowers. Instead of celebrity guests, there were framed pictures of Liberace and Elvis Presley on the walls. And instead of a Supreme Court judge, we were married by a justice of the peace, dressed in a cobalt blue double-breasted suit, who looked like a lost member of Gladys Knight's Pips. In other words, it was perfect. In attendance were my parents, a favorite aunt and uncle, my beautiful soon-to-be stepdaughter, and two of my closest friends. My dad sang, my husband played guitar, and I wept. And after the ceremony, when the pastor pronounced us husband and wife, we blasted Elvis's Viva Las Vegas on a boombox that we brought with us for the occasion. And to my frugal husband's delight, it only cost $49.95 for the whole shebang, plus a tip for the pastor. After the ceremony, everyone laughed and cried and talked about how it was the best wedding they'd ever been to. The pastor had to finally kick us all out because he had another wedding scheduled in 15 minutes. Then, instead of retiring to an elegant candlelit dinner at a fancy restaurant, the whole wedding party went to an all-you-can-eat buffet. It was fantastic. Me, fresh from the chapel in my floor-length ivory satin strapless gown, standing in line waiting to pile my cheap ceramic just out of the steam cleaner plate, high with crab legs and jumbo shrimp. But whatever our choice of after ceremony restaurants lacked in ambiance, it made up for in heart. And whenever our guests clinked their stainless steel cutlery against their water glasses, we kissed with the innocence and happiness of the newlyweds we were. It was an absolutely happy, kooky, wonderful wedding, the one I would have dreamed of my whole life if I'd only had enough imagination. And yes, in contrast to my first wedding, a real marriage took place that day. The goal of partner dancing is to reach such a feeling of connection that there's no longer a leader or a follower, but that two really dance as one. Sometimes when you're dancing, you feel so connected to your partner, it's like everything in the room and even in your outside life slips away. Maybe you had a successful day at work, or maybe you had a fight with your boyfriend, but suddenly the temperature of the room, and maybe even your partner's cologne, or what shoes you're wearing, or even if you believe in astrology, maybe it's how the planets in the heavens are aligned that day. All these things coalesce into this magic moment that allows you to have this deep soul connection with another human being. It's like that scene from the movie West Side Story when Tony and Maria see each other for the first time at the dance and everything falls away. The music and the other dancers, and suddenly it's just the two of them touching each other's palms on a dance floor. In those rare times when you're lucky enough to have this feeling with your partner, it's like no one is leading and no one is following, but more like the music is indeed playing you. And while you're embracing each other, it's like you're also being embraced by the music and all the other dancers on the floor, and in some way by the entire world. And I think this, more than the sensual movements, the beautiful music, the fun and the camaraderie, and even gasp, the shoes, is the thing that keeps us dancers coming back again and again to the dance floor. This feeling of connection with another human being. This is the part I believe that's the real model for relationships off the dance floor. It's the shared connection where it's almost like you can read each other's minds, or even that you're really one mind. This feeling of being connected to something else, something bigger, something eternal. It's the feeling some people say they get from meditation or prayer, and yes, I think this moment is an expression of a kind of love, but it's the transcendent kind, the kind that never dies.